Just call it a night.
So, this is Those Boys, episode 31.
Episode
30? 31. Episode 31, Those Boys. I'm not here to fight.
It's because you didn't drink caffeine today. That's why you're not here to fight.
Well, what's up, Those Boys fans? My name is Nathan.
I am Zach.
And we are those boys who decided to start a podcast about religious trauma.
Religious trauma.
And we used to be pastors' kids, still are current pastors' kids. And we made it out of the church alive.
Not everyone does.
Not everyone does.
Definitely not.
I guess it depends on your definition
Of alive.
of what it means to be alive.
Yeah. I mean, we've known some people who have died in it.
I mean, everyone dies in it, right? If you don't make it out alive, you die in it.
I mean, we do know a couple people who have taken their lives in it.
We do know a couple people that have taken their lives. No, dark start off.
I'm just saying, that's what I think about when I say that. Not everyone gets out alive. Sometimes it does break people down far enough to kill themselves.
Yeah, I mean,
But that's just the reality of everything.
It's true. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of reasons why people maybe make that decision, or maybe they're not ones not making it. But
Exactly.
Love the fit, Zach.
Thanks, man.
I like that you're switching it up.
Well, when I was rendering the podcast for this last Friday, your fit. I was like, you always have a fit, and I always am just in a sweater.
It's funny, like mine, like I'm just in my black.
Well,
Simple.
you finally helped purchasing a nice little heater in here, so it's not nearly as cold, and I can dress like this.
Yeah.
Previously, I wouldn't be able to get through the entire podcast if I dressed like this. So.
Yeah, no, you look good.
I do need to go shopping though, man. Get some more clothes. We should do some shop days.
Together, or do you want to go by yourself?
No, I would like to shop with you.
I'll take you, baby.
Well, I don't know.
I'll help you figure out some stuff.
I don't need you to take me.
Oh, you don't want me to take you?
I just want to go with you.
Oh, you want to go with me?
Like together.
But I don't have to take you. I'll just go with you.
Yeah, you can just come.
But if you want, I can take you.
Okay. If you take me, you paying?
I can like take you where I'm not even shopping for myself, and I'm just kind of waiting outside the dressing rooms, and I'm like, well, let me see.
Yeah.
I love those.
Can I come in with you? No.
Yeah. I'm going to go be in the computer section, okay, Dad? I'm going to go look at the technology. No, you're going to wait for me. I'm going to go look at the headphones.
That's always what it was. I always loved the technology section.
Oh, yeah, of course. All those TVs.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh.
Just like so much going on.
Well, that was just like before like the iPhone. And
it's the same for Evan.
Yeah, but it's just
every time we go into a Target or a Walmart or any other store, it's like, can we go check out the the electronics section? But like the last one was mouse. Can we please go look at the mouse? Why? Because I want to try to find a mouse that has rapid fire on it. I need an auto clicker. Why? Because the math game at school.
Math game?
Yeah, they have like games. They get to play like they have a computer hour.
And he wants to bring his mouse to school.
One of his friends has a hacked mouse that has rapid fire on the side button, so you can spam the fire button, which is like basically hacking games, and you get kicked out. So he like begged me if he could use his own money to buy this like special mouse online. So I let him, and he bought it. He was all stoked. He's like, which, you know, I will say that like if kids buy things off Amazon, they won't shut up about it until it shows up. And I'm always like, damn, is this how I am on the inside too? Like every time I order,
do you remember buying stuff off the internet?
It's just no.
As a kid.
Not like
I remember the first thing I bought off eBay.
What was it?
Do you remember the first thing you bought off eBay? Because we both got into eBay selling at some point, but you got on before me, and you were buying like Rubik's Cubes, I think, for a little bit, and you bought like a pack of 15 for extra.
I bought like 1,000.
Then you got into the woman
garters.
Garters, yeah.
Because I was selling them, like buying them wholesale.
Yeah.
Little did we know that was just like instilling capitalism at such a young age. It was good though.
It's good money.
I made some money off those Rubik's Cubes.
Yeah, you did.
I bought them for, it was like, you know, I didn't even know what I was doing. I was buying them 5 cents a pop, selling them for like $10 each.
I bought 100 of those copper bracelets you used to wear to help with pain. And I got 100 of them for like $250. And then I sold each one for about 15. Made great profit.
Back in the good old days of eBay.
No, you can still do it today. It just takes equal amount of work, and it's a lot of work.
Yeah, it is a lot of, I mean, you've done a lot of that too over the years. You tried it all.
I have tried quite a bit of the entrepreneurship.
Yes, you have.
Situation.
And you never stop.
Well, someday it'll work.
This podcast started feeling like an entrepreneurship capitalistic venture, and now it feels like quite not.
No.
Doesn't feel like capitalism. It doesn't feel like anything we've ever done before.
Mm-mm.
It's kind of like, well, here we go again.
It's even, for me at least, it's become a lot more for us.
Yeah.
I feel like when we first started it was a lot of me pushing you to do it with me. But then we just really enjoyed spending time together and doing it. And then once we really started to confirm we were going to talk about religious trauma more often and then make it kind of like the theme of the podcast, it's gotten a lot more like, oh yeah, we are in episode 31, but that's because we still have a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
And we also want to do more with it. It's not really even about, oh, we didn't reach our follower goals. We really haven't reached our follower goals.
I don't think a single goal is right.
No.
Like, well, in terms, and that's like the capitalism goal, right? It's like, we want this many followers by this date. That's an expectation that's not about the product. That's an expectation based on like profit, right? And that's just not at all what this podcast is
not
about.
Anymore. Not at all. But
like,
it has been like that for a long time though.
I think everything in our lives has been trying to get the next big thing, or like whenever, not everything, but that's why it's been hard for me to want to do anything artistic, is because it feels like it's so easy for me to fall into the, oh, we don't have enough.
Yeah.
Oh, there's not enough. And all of the work I'm doing in my life in combination with this is funny because this podcast doesn't feel like that. I mean, what's funny about you saying like it's more for us, I agree. And that's why I think the last podcast I said that we started this podcast off with it being a sort of like creative and artistic approach to two brothers, like a performative approach of two brothers reconnecting. And we've done music and projects and stage performance stuff together since we were kids. It's never not this.
Yeah.
It's like whenever this comes to an end, or if it evolves to something else, we'll be on to the next. If you go off and tour your music ever someday, which would be amazing and fun for you, but we'd probably do something else again in the future. And then in our 40s, 50s, and then our 60s, and then we're starting this. You know, it's like, it's just awesome that we are able to reconnect. And it's funny how we have like this sort of drive to want to do something entertainment. And I had like no desire to go back into the social media world. And you were just like, then don't. I'll take care of it for you. And I was like, okay. And now here we are in episode 31. And it's like, well, why don't we have enough followers? It's like, that was quick now. But it's true. I just think like our topic isn't necessarily one that trends. It's also like, you know, when I look on things on Google or when I search things on ChatGPT, you know, we've talked about this in our first, or like episodes, probably 10 to 15. We talked more about the definitions and sort of background behind religious trauma. One of the major terms that comes up all the time is something called complex post-traumatic stress disorder, or CPTSD. And the more and more I read on my own, just for this podcast on CPTSD and how it comes up in different ways, that condition, or that being like sort of one of the major qualities that comes out of religious trauma, is so on point. CPTSD. And I don't even know why I was going down that road.
Well, it's just very real. When we first talked about that one podcast, it was like, oh, well, that's what it does feel like.
Right. So that's like, as we're like that's right. That's what I was trying to say, is that like we're performative brothers. We do entertainment together. We have fun. We want more followers and all that. But this whole entire road has not been, like, it's been kind of about that, but it's like become so much less about that because we both suffer from severe CPTSD.
Yeah.
And the more we have connected with each other on this, just the softer I've become in my life since episode 1. And like diet, exercise, mental headspace. And you mentioned it at the beginning of this cast, I have completely removed caffeine. And
as of today.
But I've been cutting back over like the last month. I haven't felt like this, like I have today, ever. Like I have actually had some pretty good anxiety, but it's not like anxiety that I'm used to. It's more of just kind of like, oh, I'm so used to having that extra oomph. So anyways, I feel so different than when we started. And when we started this podcast, I felt like I was growing so much from then. You know, and
well, we're always growing. We've been.
So I feel like my ego is actually like, that's one of the challenges of this podcast, is like what we're talking about is I feel like I have guilt and shame talking about feeling egotistical and how this is a performative approach to talking about our trauma. But like what you just said, when it comes down to it, I'm so much more fucking close to you. And like our relationship has blossomed. I just had mom and dad over for dinner, and it was just like not a single thing was brought up about politics. Not a single thing was brought up about religion. And we all just had a wonderful time. It was so sweet. And I think that like with mom writing again, like writing her book and us doing this and this separation it's caused, is it's not easy and it's awkward at times and there's bizarreness. But when it comes down to like the boundaries that have been set in place because of the hard work that we've done here, that like just even in our family, things are feeling more mature. And it's like, yeah, because we're taking a more mature approach to like our own lives. I didn't even know what was down this road.
Of course, we were never supposed to do this.
Yeah.
I think that's the big thing for me is I've always wanted to talk about this. I just never thought I would. I also was too afraid to, and also too afraid to let myself think this way and possibly not be talking good about the Bible.
Yeah.
It's such a frowned upon thing, and that's been burned into my brain is to never talk bad about Jesus, never talk bad about God, never talk bad about Christianity. And I don't want to say we're talking bad about it, but we're not talking good about it, you know? Yeah. We're talking about how it's like really traumatized us being forced into this religion. And the more we've talked about it, the more I've remembered it. And the stuff we're going to talk about tonight is a big one for me in terms of like what I think really has messed up a lot of parts of my growing as a man. And it's just the more we do it, man, the more I'm like blown away by how much CPTSD I actually have from our upbringing. But then also the more I'm willing to ask people about their upbringing and compare it to my own on how many people that I'm involved with now, not being in the church and working and stuff, and how many people weren't raised this way. Because it used to be everyone that I was around was raised this way because we were only around people in the church.
That's what you thought.
That's what I thought. Well, I mean, that's kind of what it was. I wasn't in school. Right. I was secluded, and I was homeschooled around people that were raised the same way with me as homeschoolers. And then when I was in public school, everyone else was a sinner to me. And I just kind of like, that's always what that thought was until I just forgot about everything in my later 20s or in my 20s. But now going back to it, it's more of like, I'm so curious about how other people were like raised.
Just other like childhood experiences.
Just other parental. Exactly.
What did you do with your time?
What trauma do you have? You know, because it's like me. Same. Well, no, for sure. We all have trauma. Everyone has trauma from an upbringing most of the time. But it's just different. And it's interesting to hear like the privileges we did have as having two parents that stayed together and like the privileges we did have in other ways of being a part of a community that people really strive to be a part of. And we were a part of a big community for a good amount of time that caused us a bunch of trauma, you know? And so it's like, we're talking about it in this way. Other people would be like, you had so much love in your life. And it's like, yeah, but let's all talk about it.
And I think to like connect that dot there is that like, this idea of religious trauma and parental trauma kind of goes hand in hand with us.
For us, yeah.
And, you know, there was somebody I heard through the grapevine. Actually, I'll bring this up later because it's not important. But I wanted to use what you just said as a way to kind of like get into our topic today, because you said that you had like, it sounded like you had a really one way of thinking. Like you didn't really know there was other ways of living or other ways of being born or like being raised. Like you just assumed most kids or people.
I knew there was 100%. It's just I wasn't surrounded by it, so I didn't really see it.
And as a kid, from 0 to 10, from being born to like 10, you're not thinking about these things, right? You're just taking it all in, and it's toxic, right? It can lead to some toxic ways of living, and let's jump into it.
Well, let's wait. There's a topic going around that I think that we can't dodge that bullet, dude.
What do you mean?
There's just a bunch of stuff going on. There's one specific topic. We talked about it for months now, and we haven't brought it up on this podcast.
What do you mean?
I think we just have to talk about it.
You mean the one that we're talking about tonight?
No, that's all. I mean, no, like the actual like societal issue we brought up a couple of times. And I mean, everyone's talking about it on the internet.
You mean what we're going to talk about today?
No.
Well, oh my God, what are you talking about?
Dude, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the $64 billion toilet paper industry that's taking over the nation, and it's expected to grow 4% a year until 2025.
Is this a joke?
This is not a joke. This is dead serious.
What are you talking about right now?
We need to take a stance and end toilet paper for everyone.
Is this a challenge?
Americans.
This is a challenge.
Use so much toilet paper.
Are you doing a TikTok challenge or something?
I'm not doing anything. I'm just saying we know we need to talk about this and we need to bring it to the forefront. We have a platform and we need to bring it out. You talk about it. Toilet paper it needs to be obsolete. I just used your bidet, right? And that's a beautiful bidet. Warm water, everything. I have the cleanest asshole now.
Dude, not everyone is privileged to have a hot heated seat with warm water.
I don't. At my house, I have an ice cold rocket shooter.
The way that you're bringing this up is so out of left field. I was like having a mind like headache. I don't have any caffeine. I'm just like, oh my gosh. Did we plan this? Did we plan toilet paper? What is he talking about? This has nothing to do. I thought you were going to make a connection that like if we keep using toilet paper, we'll kill this planet from all the religious trauma shit we're cleaning up every day.
Precisely.
Oh God. Can we move on?
Let's move on. That was out of left field. I just wanted to
Hey, you win. You're sharper than me.
Thanks.
Today's topic, Zachary.
We are going to be discussing the trauma of toxic masculinity in the church.
Yeah. And there's so many traumas that come from it, but toxic masculinity in Calvary Chapel.
Calvary Chapel specifically.
Toxic masculinity. Mm-hmm. I have a nice big printout of different points I wanted to talk about or just things that could guide us because I've noticed that Zachary and I do well with guidance.
Mm.
But I wanted to kind of let you spearhead this.
Well, I mean, there's so much.
Let's just jump into it.
So much. Let's just start with, it is written in the Bible that males are the pastors and females are not the pastors, at least in the Bible that we were raised on and what we believed. The Calvary Chapel message, a male pastor, you cannot have female pastors.
So let's go ahead and call this emphasis on male leadership, right? There's a significant emphasis on male leadership. Mm-hmm. We've talked about this in past episodes. Some of these things are overlapping because all of it's going to overlap.
Yeah.
But you've said specifically that you barely remember if that any woman in a leadership role growing up.
Not in our churches. I mean, when we teamed up with other churches of other religion, of Christianity, but of other denominations, like sectors of churches. Yeah, there was that one in, I want to take that out. That one close to us, that it was a female pastor. And that always felt uncomfortable to me because you weren't supposed to have female pastors.
True. So just like in the church, there's that, but like male have a very strong leadership in regards to the Christian religion. Males tend to have a much more higher role in terms of like leadership in the family as well. Correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so
definitely in the family. Every family.
Yeah.
The man runs the household. It's the man's house.
In these Christian sort of families.
Which also something I was like reminiscing on is especially at the time we were being raised, like the early 2000s, late 1990s, the very societal thing too, to have the male working and the woman raising the children.
And there's just like so many, of course, things outside of Christianity and other cultures that Christianity is not the only oppressive, sexist and racist religion on the planet. In fact, every religion can be that, right?
Yeah.
Like, and so it's not just like to one. I think toxic masculinity, though, we're talking it specifically of like the Christian
Calvary Chapel,
but really the Christian religion. So with like this idea of men having the authority, whether it be church, whether it be the family, that is like instilled into the children, right? So there's like a very like devaluation of the female voice, or devaluation of female voices in general. What's fascinating talking about this idea of like toxic masculinity and then the difference between males and females in the Christian church and how that looks is gender is only real in its constructs, which this is where it all started. Those constructs are kind of in the foundation of these types of religions. And because gender isn't real.
Yes.
So it's fascinating to be talking about the trauma of toxic masculinity and how this doesn't just stick to a male. So when we talk about like devaluation of female voices or men hold more authority, that's all very real. That's on paper. That's like proof in most Christian families. But that, I lost my point. I was going to make a really good point.
Well, hopefully that's fine. Hopefully it doesn't bring you off topic, but it made me think there is nothing written in the Bible that was written by a female, right? everything's written by the disciples that were all males.
I'm sure everything in the Bible is written by a male.
Yeah.
In fact, the only like real, but real quick, not to like just lose that, but that toxic masculinity can be in women too. I mean, it's super toxic masculinity.
It definitely is. That's the only reason why it works in the religion is the women also believe this.
Right.
They also are supporting it.
I just want to make that point.
Yeah.
That like gender isn't real, but it's real in it's real in its constructs, which is literally the foundation is here.
It's definitely real
Seeing it in
the religion. It's definitely real there.
Yeah. And this is where you can see it.
Yeah.
Right. On paper.
Mm-hmm.
So what about these gender roles?
What do you mean?
Rigid as fuck gender roles.
Totally. Very rigid.
For instance, men, strong, assertive, unemotional. Women, submissive, nurturing, supportive. Right. And I think of like just me putting myself on the spot, you know, was a single dad for like almost 10 years before Megan came into my life. But as Megan's in my life now, he cooks, he cleans, right? Like I am in regards to how the roles we were raised under, or at least we saw in the church, is I've worked through all of these things, but like when it comes to these actual like roles and relationships, you know, like I feel like every day me and Megan are coming up with seriously strong, like rigid gender role stuff. And one of the things that I do with her and she does back to me, more me, because I'm just such a verbal person, is just like acknowledging the role. Like, holy shit, this is like handed down. And she comes from like a strong Indian culture, but was raised in the Southern Christian church, Baptist church. And she has her own form of religious trauma. So it's like these things cross barriers of culture and whatnot. But yeah, rigid gender roles. So I know that we had an emotional father. Our father was not afraid to show emotion.
Yeah.
I've never been afraid to show emotion. I've never been able to not show emotion, whether it's like I cry for everything. And so that's just like a part of the way my body works. But like, I know your history very well. I'm your brother. I know how masculine you and I have been. I know what was going on in our early 20s to mid 20s when we read certain books to try to break us free from certain toxic masculine ways, just to sort of find ourselves tripped up in other toxic masculine ways. How do you feel about that growing up? Did you feel like these rigid gender roles were? Or do you feel like we kind of had a more sensitive, whatever that means?
I feel like we were raised incredibly sensitive. And I think that's more of our family. Like you said, we do have a very emotional father, and it was very welcome to be emotional as a man in our family. But that doesn't, just being able to be emotional doesn't take apart the idea that you're only supposed to be emotional if it's
I guess I'm saying more like crying, but I guess like emotional isn't necessarily seen as being that is a toxic masculine thing, to be overly emotional, right? To like respond out of like, you know, like, I don't know, like if that makes any sense, but like, just like another big topic here of speaking on toxic masculinity is this suppression of emotions. And so within these gender roles, right, maybe men or women are actually, there's like a huge discouragement of female emotions, which I think is...
Huge discouragement of female emotions in men?
No, in women.
What do you mean by that?
Like women shouldn't show their emotions. Like you need to be stronger. Like don't cry.
Really? In this, you remember seeing this in the church?
I think it's, I think like, think of like Natalie, think of like the women, like just the people, you know, like men tend to be like, sure, assertive and strong, but you like don't necessarily see that all the time. You know what I'm saying? Is like, I think that like, given we're not women, you know, it's like we don't identify as that. So I don't want to speak, but that there's just overall this, basically there's just an extremely like unhealthy emotional environment.
Totally. 100%.
That's so much easier to build off of.
100%.
How would you say that is in terms of like your emotions versus someone else's?
Well, I mean, I just always reflect on the ideas of how the religion defined men. and what it meant to be a man, what it meant to be in a family. And a lot of it was suppressing yourself and suppressing your sexual desires as a man, suppressing your feelings as a man, but your feelings as a 12-year-old boy, 13-year-old boy going through puberty, and you're not supposed to think about women, Zach, until you're married. Until you're married. Don't you dare think sexually about women. That's kind of what it was put upon you. I remember having a youth pastor ask me what I think about when I masturbate.
He asked you that?
Mm-hmm. What do you think about when you masturbate?
Did you asking
a 14-year-old that. I didn't know. I don't think about anything. You don't think about porn? I didn't know what porn was.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, I'm so suppressed. I am afraid to think about women. I am afraid to kiss women. I'm afraid to touch women because I'm not supposed to until I'm married. I'm not supposed to have any sexual contact with anybody until I am married by law, and then I can have sex with them. And then I can think about them that way. It's like, that's when I think of toxic masculinity, that's a recipe for pure disaster. 100%. Either going to end in divorce and in hate and in anger and not in love. That's not love. And so many men taught me that. Suppress everything. Suppress. You go to these camps. Sorry, now I'm just going on a spiel.
Go for it, baby.
You go to these camps, man, and men, you are allowed to wear the skimpiest of bathing suits with your shirt off and really turn on all these women. But what do the women have to do? If they're going to get in the pool, you throw on an extra shirt and you swim in that shirt. You don't tempt these boys because they can't control their emotions. Don't you tempt them. It's like, that's so sexist. That is so sexist. And that's not teaching us as boys how to handle these emotions in any real environment. At these camps, you are being watched over by leaders 24/7. That should be the one place these women are running around in bikinis so that we can be like cared for by these leaders. But that's just not the way it was. It was, no, just suppress those emotions. You're a horny mouse. Yeah. You're a horny mouse. I was told that. I brought that up in the last podcast by this buff youth pastor. Men, you're a horny mice. It's like, no, I'm not. I was so afraid to be horny all of my life until I don't even know when. I still sometimes get guilt about feeling aroused.
Really?
Yeah.
In what ways still?
I'm not married.
Really?
I mean, I don't believe those emotions, but it's burned into my brain.
You and your partner, like, you'll still have like weird feelings.
After sex?
Yeah.
Totally.
Really?
Not every time, but sometimes, yeah.
Well,
you don't ever feel like guilty after having sex?
No. But I feel my relationship with like porn and everything you brought up, like I had been like trying to understand my relationship with nudity, and like my effect from what you just talked about was quite the opposite of yours. Like just hearing you talk was more of like, instead of suppressing the sexual feelings of like, or whatever, like, which this is in effect on a young pastor's kid or boy, you know, from like toxic masculinity and suppressing what you were saying. Mine came out like fire. Like I couldn't hold it in.
Yeah.
Like I was just like, it felt like my body was exploding sometimes, where it was like, I don't know how to not take care of this feeling. And so naturally mine like presented into like sneaking out of the house and different girlfriends and like what have you. But yeah, I like what you just said. I mean, that was a lot. It's very true. It's very real. I think that I really look forward to being able to have this exact same conversation with more survivors of religious trauma. Yeah. Specifically those that identify as female. Or those that don't identify as female anymore, but used to be female, or those that identify as male and whatever. Yeah. But I just think that like, I never want to speak for the woman's experience here, but I do know that what you just said had a direct effect on like in the ways that I saw women, was that women could do no wrong. That was like, in effect, that was something I had as like a little kid. Like I just thought women could never couldn't do anything wrong. I never felt they had the authority to do anything wrong. What could they do? You see, mine was like, right. So you're like, and you were thinking that at like 12? Well, I was taught nothing else. Women never had authority in my life, ever. Except there's that one woman. But mom had amazing authority in your life.
Oh, as my mother.
Right.
I'm talking about in the church. I go to church. The only people that can direct me in that church, I mean, not direct me, but like have any authority over me is a male. Women were in the kids' classes helping the kids. But no woman is going to tell me in the church what to do except my mom. Yeah, you're right. My mom did have a huge authority over my life.
It's interesting. I never really had that. Like, I looked up to a lot of the older women in our church, and I talked to them every time. And like, so I never really looked at it. It never really had that effect on me as much. I mean, I just assumed, I don't know, but I think a lot of the toxic masculinity is like by the time that I left the church at like 16, 17, those first couple years, man, and the way that I like found myself in my relationships and presented like I was such a victim to everything. And it was like, if I got hurt by a girl, it was like the worst form of toxic masculinity. It was just like, and I had no idea what was going on, but it was like so much fear when my girlfriend at the time or something was going out with her friends. I'd just be so scared she's going to cheat on me. And
totally.
Like the levels of guilt or shame, like I had no backbone. I didn't know how to stand up for myself. So like my first relationship, she ripped me apart. It was just like, you look at porn, and then starts bawling and like screaming at me. And she doesn't know any better. She's just growing up in like her own toxic family that was atheist and not religious. And I felt like I was going to die. I felt like I should kill myself because there was some serious toxic experiences in my childhood from other men around porn. Yeah. So every time that came up, I had no backbone to even understand what porn was, but I used it all the time, and I felt addicted to it, and I felt really guilty forever through most of my 20s to try to figure out what the hell naked women and men meant to me.
Yeah.
What that meant to like my psyche, without there being any sort of formed, very, very toxic formed perspective built into my like body as a child. And so mine was a little bit different than yours, I guess.
Did you ever have any fear that first relationship, because we both have our first relationship that ended pretty tragically, both of them. Before you were in that relationship, did you ever have any fear of being in a relationship?
And what do you mean? Like what would happen in the relationship, or
what that might make you do?
In what regards?
In terms of walking away from God. Like for me, I was incredible. I couldn't imagine being in a relationship because what if I did have sex with her? Right. What if she convinced me we should do that? Then what? It's like, then I have broken the rule.
Right.
I was so afraid to break rules, which I'm very much unpacking. I don't like breaking rules. I never really have. And the Bible has a lot of rules. And so I didn't like breaking any of them, even with my thoughts.
Yeah.
And so if I was going to be in a relationship.
You broke rules. You just didn't break nearly as many as I did.
Yeah, different. Just different. I broke rules alone in my room on my computer.
Yeah.
I didn't go out.
Like in your adult life too, there were some rules that were broken.
For sure. I'm really talking about from like age of like 10 to 17 of this toxic masculinity.
When you can start making your own choices from what you learned.
When I started making my own choices, I made all the wrong choices, which is going to lead me to another thing. The church never taught me how to put a condom on. Why would I wear a condom, Zach, if you're going to be abstinent until marriage?
So one of the things is that in regards to that, I mean, I think that's an issue. I think that's specific to parental trauma. I think religion is a big deal when we talked about safe sex, but
remember these youth pastors that also would teach us would come to our high school and preach abstinence in our classes.
Oh, absolutely. But that's like not having sex at all.
That's what I'm saying. That's what we were taught. We weren't taught safe sex.
Right. But I mean, like a parent who's like religious could also be like, yeah, but here's the deal. We're smart enough to tell you that you need to learn how to wear a condom in case you have sex. Even though we don't want you to, you need to have safe sex, right? The reality is like there's a lot of families we were in the church with who taught their kids how to have safe sex. And I remember being like, your parents taught you how to wear a condom.
We obviously didn't come from a lenient family.
But that's what I'm saying is that there's certain things that I think are based like on parents. Not saying the church doesn't facilitate a very toxic and bizarre thing. Absolutely.
Well, I mean, I'm also just talking about my personal trauma. And I was never taught to use a condom. And I was only taught freshman year of high school, which no one cares about health class. I'm sorry. That was just the most...
I did though.
I bet you did.
Yeah.
But the like, oh, you're supposed to wear a condom. It's like, yeah, you're supposed to do that, but no one really does. You know, I just was like, I wasn't taught that. But all my friends that weren't raised religious that I made later, not even later, but just like once I was actually in school, they all wore condoms.
Yeah.
They were taught to wear condoms. I have worn a condom one time in my life.
Oh, God.
And I am saying that openly because it doesn't feel like I'm supposed to wear a condom.
What you're openly admitting that you're having unsafe sex in your life?
Oh, with my love of my life, who if I got pregnant, I'd be stoked.
Oh yeah, because you've had the same partner for like 10 years.
I've also been safe in my own ways of sex because I'm a very hyper thinker and I didn't want a kid.
You've used a condom more than once when you've
probably
needed
more than
to.
once.
It's not your choice. You do what you gotta do.
I was also so intoxicated at the times I was giving in to having sex in my 18 and 19 years of age, breaking out of the church, that I don't remember if I did or not.
Yeah.
And that has its own issues and its own avoidance. But
I've never had that issue.
Whoa. Why don't you talk about it?
I've never had the issue of having unprotected sex ever in my life.
Except for the one time.
Except that one time.
One time.
And now he's almost 12. If you didn't think we have CPTSD, just check our track record. It's all in the history books, folks.
Man.
You can literally go to the government website and you'll see my name there. It's on paper. Yeah, you're making some good points. We also are different.
Yeah.
It's fascinating how different we are.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. Like the way that, and we always knew this sexually, like the way we projected our insecurities sexually, we were always very different, right? From like, as your older brother and as the toxic man, the dude, I was like trying my best. There's so much good that I clearly handed down to you from what you've told me on this podcast, which is the sweet. I never knew. I never knew that shit. But I do remember all the other shit that I like passed down, which is just the way I was living. And I would be like, bro, why aren't you out there like trying to meet girls? And you'd be like, I'm not like you, Nathan. And I'd be like, that's probably the problem.
Yeah.
You're not like me. And you'd be like, what? And you would just never back then, but we had plenty of fun out there. And
oh, totally. Especially once we became DJs.
But it was very clear that what you're being honest about here was seen, like mine was like, I thought it was my duty to put on a show everywhere I went, performative. Like I needed people to love me. Even now, like it's changing rapidly fast, how fast I'm growing over the last few years. But like recognizing how in my romantic relationships and my friendships, I mean, almost all my friendships were like extremely toxic. And in fact, I think some of my closest guy friends that I'm not like that close with anymore, they were very toxic relationships. I didn't really know anything outside of a relationship that was like insanely connected and partially toxic. Most of my relationships have been toxic, which isn't to say they're bad. It just means that like they're so fragile and can break at any moment because I was so fragile. Yeah. All of that is the toxic masculinity that has been like really accepted and seen and learned from me. Moving down our list here, there is, in terms of toxic masculinity with the Christian church specific to Calvary Chapel, the good old Calvary, there is a lot of pressure to conform traditional masculine roles and expectations, isolation, anxiety, low self-esteem, pressures to conform. There's also hyper-competitiveness, emphasis on physical strength, dominance, sexual prowess or whatever, hostility, an exclusionary environment. These are it's a little bit of an overlap, but like, I think that brings in right to what we're talking about, this like sexual prowess, men being the leaders, girls having to wear t-shirts at the pool for church camps, and like extremely exclusionary environment. Women are not in the same class as men. Whoa. Right. You kind of explained all of that.
From a young age too. It's not just once you're an adult. It's even the young girls. You're not in the same bracket as these young men, right, who are going to be raised as missionaries and pastors, and they're going to save people. Whereas the women, you're going to support the men saving people, and you're going to support them by doing it with them under their leadership, or you're going to stay home and raise their children.
Yeah.
Which I know is like an extreme thing to just say all families ran that way. I don't believe that's the case in the Calvary Chapel Church, but a lot of them did.
But not even just the Calvary Chapel Church. I think the Christian church in general literally hands down that outline.
Yeah.
Like this is a way to have a family.
Yeah.
This is the way to be.
The way to be.
The way to be. Yeah. Which exactly, you make a good point. The way to be.
Yeah.
The entire religion is the way.
Yeah.
I mean, the verse in the Bible that says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. If Jesus, a male, says, I am the way, the truth, and the life, if any man were to say that, which a lot of men have said that type of shit, that's toxic.
Totally.
I am the way, the truth, and the life. Now, if you say that in a meditative way, as in being one with the universe, that sounds beautiful, right?
Mm-hmm.
I am like, we are all the way. I am the way, the truth. Like everyone is God, right? We all have that. But I think that the religion itself is so singular and so exclusionary, and you can't really think out of the box, and you're not supposed to conform to other things. You have to stick to the ways. And if you get out of the ways, then you're missing the mark. And in fact, you can't follow the ways anymore. And so those ways being like the one true path kind of is sort of like, I believe, the first stepping stone to how everything leads down to like everything in the Bible, and everything in the religion puts women in a position of being submissive to their husbands, like in every regard. So in fact, I believe there's a religious term, believe. I believe that the Christian faith only puts women, like it only presents a toxic masculine approach to life.
100%. I agree.
I don't think there's any actual way out unless you follow the true path. And if you're following something else, then you're kind of like one of those modern lax Christians.
Yeah.
You know, we're new.
We were not modern lax.
No, we
Christians.
weren't modern lax. And there's a lot of, most aren't. And we see them everywhere in the comments.
Yeah.
And, but there's just a complete disregard to women's perspectives.
100%.
And
if it doesn't come from a man's perspective.
That is 50% of the human race. Not more.
If not more.
So half of the human race are completely disregarded. They're not even considered like part of the same stature.
Now, let me throw you a little curveball here and just be the devil's advocate, as if I was a Christian sitting here and saying, what about Mary, though?
Bring it on. Oh, Mary?
What about Mary the Virgin? Right. She's the most important.
You said it. So in the Bible, I think there's like two versions of woman, how a woman is in the Bible. She's presented as a virgin.
Yep.
So she doesn't even have sex to have a baby. But she does have a baby that is the one true living God in human form, but didn't have sex to have that. So purity in its finest form. Mother Mary, pure. So pure, she doesn't even need a cock to get pregnant. That's as pure can be.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have someone like, which we're not going to get into it, Bathsheba. Ring any bells? Bathsheba was like toxic in the sense of killing all men, right? It was like turned against them or like tried to like take over. And so these forms of women in the Bible are either complete purity or murderous.
Yeah.
There's no in between, which puts women in a place of not being human. You're subjecting them to being a subject. Literally.
There's also just not that much women in the Bible.
I think there's a lot of women in the Bible.
But not as much men.
I mean, it's
a lot of men.
I mean, my statement is that no, there's women in the Bible. There is a lot of men. You know, it's like there's a lot of men in all of history.
And if the Bible, like we talked about in the last podcast, is the one true book, doesn't that mean that males are the one true species that came from Adam? That's the belief.
What,
is
you mean
that
women came from Adam?
The female came from the man.
Right.
God took the rib, right? And made the female for the connection of for Adam, because Adam was alone.
Right.
If you believe that, then men are the significant importance in humanity.
I've always used what you just said, and my joke or like Mac has been like, so wait a minute, if Eve was made out of Adam, and if Eve did something wrong, isn't that Adam's fault then? Because wasn't Eve made from Adam? So technically, isn't that Adam's issues? Because Eve wasn't made from something else. Eve came from you, and she was the one that made the first sin. Why you shouldn't have had her to? It's Adam's fault.
Yeah, it's Adam's fault.
Where'd she come from? If you believe that,
came from his rib.
It's the man's fault.
Well, he was taking a nap. He was taking a nap in a bush, and God just came down and was like, I'm going to take that rib. We're going to make a girl.
Yeah, and he made Adam out of sand.
Yeah.
It's
just a wild story, man.
Yeah, it's nuts.
The whole Adam and Eve story.
The 7 days of creation is crazy.
I know.
You know, it really is like, wow, that is a bizarre God.
It blows my mind now to look back on it and think that a man like myself was given this wisdom from God and wrote it in a book that so many people believe to the death.
Yeah.
Because of what one man thought.
Or believe to the punch. They'll punch the shit out of you.
Yeah.
You know? Or they'll raise children and do it to the point of where they go nuts and get, move out or get kicked out and then end up with kids and divorces. And then they start a podcast to talk about how that shit's crazy.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. We got to have more women on this show. Chantel's not actually here today. She's feeling very sick. Chantel, we love you. We hope you're drinking lots of water.
A lot of water,
Nurses'
Chantel.
Orders, not the doctors. The nurses do everything.
Way more important.
Someone was like, do you ever have a problem being a nurse, like being the help? And I was like,
You
never.
have no idea what you're talking about.
I was like, I am actually never upset for just being the help.
That's not what nurses are.
We're
help.
We're the help.
No, the nursing assistants are the help.
No. Everything that isn't a doctor is just the help. That's the culture.
We don't need doctors anymore.
We need doctors.
Okay, we need doctors.
We need robotic doctors. We need
doctors.
MD Chat GPT.
Yeah, dude. Hell yeah.
So to finish this off, I think that there's like so much we could talk about. And the last one on here that I printed out was, here it comes. The stigmatization of non-heterosexual identities, which is the rigid expectations of heterosexuality, which is massive, and stigmatization of LGBTQ plus individuals. We've talked about this before, and the effects that toxic masculinity in the church had on both of our lives and our views on the homosexual community and what our experiences were as we tried to find our identities out of the church. Right?
Oh my God. I didn't even think about that when we came in to talk about this today. I didn't even process that.
There are experiences that as I identify as a bisexual man, and I didn't always identify as a bisexual man. I think that as I've started to really form a better identity for myself, I think I really discovered I was bisexual probably in my early teens and just didn't really understand those feelings until I was older, right?
And for those, if anyone's listening that wasn't raised in the church, doesn't have the idea of what that means, it is just bad to be not straight or cisgender in any way, shape, or form. If you are born a female and you don't identify as a female, you can't really identify as a Christian in our religion.
Well, you're just sick.
You're sick and we're going to send you to a camp to get help.
And I don't even think that would happen in our experience, but we know what happened in our experience. We had a close friend of ours that we're not going to speak of. Actually, we don't even need to bring him up at all. But we'd love to have him on the cast soon to talk more of the personal experience on that. But I remember seeing people in the church getting kicked out for coming out as gay. I remember in high school when I started to really had started thinking outside of the box, junior year of high school, and I was in a class called peer helping. And I would go, kids would put little notes, and I'm sure I brought this up before, but little notes in a box, and it would just have a date and time on it with the classroom of where they were. And one of us was supposed to pull them out of class to talk to them about their whatever they want to talk about, normally something pretty emotional or whatever. So peer helping, peer to peer.
Yeah.
And there was a kid that I went, how old am I? Like
15,
maybe.
Yeah.
In junior high school. And so I pulled him out, and he was the, more popular, well-known homosexual guy in the school. And the kids were so brutally mean to him. And I don't even know I don't know. I don't want to identify him as a him, but I know that he was gay, and that was well known in the school. And there wasn't that many well-known gay kids in our school.
Few.
And thinking this is like 2006.
This is before it was legal to get married in our country.
Yeah.
Or our state.
Well, it's not legal to have gay marriage in our country.
In our state is what I meant to say.
And he was suicidal. And I remember just sitting there listening to him and his experiences, and he was just going off, and he was very emotionally distraught. And I was such a pastor's kid. It was my role to help the world. It is my job to sit here. And even if I don't even actually understand what's going on, I will sit here and listen to you speak. And at that point in my life, I listened, but like, I didn't really think of his situation. It was just like, I'm here to help you. It's kind of the driving force of what led me into nursing. And then I was like confronted with that like I'd helped a boy in high school who was like suffering from suicidal ideation because of like,
how'd you help him?
Homosexual trauma, just by listening, just being an ear. And I didn't even know what I was listening to. All I know is that he, a week later, drank a bunch of laundry detergent and didn't die, but the whole school found out. And it was a very big deal.
That sounds so traumatic.
And I went, I wonder if he drank the laundry detergent because he's gay. And I didn't really understand what that meant. Why is he drinking the laundry detergent? Is it because he's gay? Is it because he's made fun of? All these, like I just didn't get it. I was like 16, 15.
What a position to have been put in.
I was put in those positions. I felt like a lot as a kid, traumatic positions. I didn't know any better, but I was good at them. Came back that day. I was the only one that would pull kids out. My teacher would always tell me, like, you're so good at this. I mean, a lot of adults have told me you're really good at this, talking with other people, listening, communicating, being there. And I just didn't realize the severity of the trauma I've been listening to all my life from these different people and these different experiences.
But we were confronted with severe trauma from people all the time in the church.
Yeah.
Every single Sunday, sometimes you would have confessions of people that you would watch come in front of the church and give their testimony, as we would call it. And it'd be crazy.
I mean, adults would just pull me aside and just be like, can I talk to you about something? And I'd be like, why? And they'd be like, I just like, I've been going through this. And I'm like, yeah, I'm the pastor's kid. I need to listen. I need to be here for this person. It's like, I am really good at that. It's just like right now, you and I are good at having conversation on camera. It's like some people are really good at like conversational things. The thing is, I wasn't good at understanding what was being told to me because I wasn't truly listening to someone's trauma. I was just like reverberating good care.
Exactly.
And like, I'm a good caregiver. I know how to communicate wisely. But when it comes to truly understanding someone's pain, it's like I had to feel a lot of my own pain.
But also, you went through so much trauma in your own life without even knowing you were going through trauma, that when you would hear someone else's trauma, would you even process it as trauma?
That's what I'm saying. Like, I didn't know.
A homosexual individual is being oppressed and hated on. You're being oppressed as a Christian. You're being hated on as a Christian too.
Well, so he even told me, you're the only person I feel safe telling this to. And like, you're extremely, he's, the word we hate. He's like, you're a really nice guy.
Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, I know. And he was like, I didn't say that. But it was like, I never questioned if I was nice or like, that was the easiest part. I'm a professional. You can love me. You can like me. I'm professional at this. I can also really piss you off. It was like, and that's where the toxic masculinity came out of me.
Pissing people off.
Like the reactiveness.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I can listen to someone's trauma and not even understand it and provide good care, at least for the time being, that like sort of quick interaction. And I can also pop off and scare the living shit out of you.
Totally.
Angry anger. So now I'm meeting myself in the middle and I'm like, it makes sense why my codependency and need for others to see me was partly being a pastor to everybody. That was my need. Let me be a pastor for you to everybody because I need you to need me. Do you need me?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Are you gay? Are you gay and you're suicidal? I don't even care. But you need me to listen to you, don't you? Then I found out in my mid-20s, I was like, this hurts. Yeah. This really freaking hurts.
How did being raised in the church and being taught how poisonous homosexuality was, how bad it was, how wrong it was to your humanity, how did that make you, did that really affect how you thought about homosexuals?
No, I mean, it's really hard. You know, man, there's a lot that I have suppressed in my childhood, my teens. But like I said, I think you and I, the way that this got expressed, right? You saw me, I got kicked out. You saw me, you said this last podcast where it was like, you know, you wish you could have put yourself out there more, right? But you and I are not the same. We don't have the same trauma. Like we have the same experiences, but not the same responses to our trauma. And so when I was like living at mom and dad's in high school and I was like presented with this like all the time, homosexuality and stuff, I befriended a lot of people. Like I never was I just felt awkward and weird, but I never let that be something that kept me from meeting people. Like those experiences in high school, right? Where it was like, why did somebody drink laundry detergent to try to kill themselves after they told me that they've had all this trauma from being a gay person? I'm just the Christian boy.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, but there's clearly something you just said. There's something in common there that that person and I had something in common, which is we both helped each other in a weird way. I didn't really know that at the time. Unfortunately, he was suffering way more, which there's no hierarchy, but I totally got it. I knew there was something seriously wrong with a gay person reaching out for a kid his age to talk to about his trauma, about the abusive relationship with his parents, and the immense amount of pain he experienced at school every day to like trying to commit suicide. That's enough for anybody to be like, ding, 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 ding. Something's wrong. That was the year I got, like the next year was when I got kicked out. Like things started to click. There wasn't a gay bone in my body that I knew of, but me and my friends were messing around, bro.
Yeah.
Like me and my closest guy friends were not like, we were running around in the forest naked.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like we were so open, sleeping in the same beds, like holding each other on Molly. Like these are things that like drugs, plant medicine, right? The experiences that I had where it was like boundaries gone, experience happened. Let's deal with it.
Yeah.
Oh, I liked it. I'm scared. I feel like I'm hating myself. I know that's not right because of what happened in high school. Like there were some foundational things I experienced outside of the church when I was breaking free, where it was like, being gay is not bad. In fact, it's totally normal. But I don't think I understood that. I said it right when I started, when I left the house for a reason. Your ways are not the ways that I want to live by. I'm living by this way. I didn't realize how hard it was going to be for me to believe the ways I said I was living by.
Yeah.
Like my body and mind were disconnected for a long time. So I had to experience certain things for myself to break those barriers, as in gay experiences. And those gay experiences have left severe traumatic things in my history because I identify as a bisexual man and I didn't know any better. So the experiences that I did have were just like anybody else trying to experience. But mine was coming from a place of severe oppression and toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
So I learned some of my identity has been learned by experimenting. And I'm a big believer in experimentation. But I'm such a bigger believer in experimentation that's safely being directed from a place of like healing, not a place of trauma, not a place of pain, not a place of confusion, not a place of, I don't know who I am. Let's try this out. Sometimes it's the only way. I'm not gay. I didn't grow up in a gay, situation in high school. So it's just not the same at all, of course. But like, my experience, was that, I guess. It was just like a little bit, it was something like that.
Yeah. This sounds incredibly traumatic, 100%. My experience, man, with the teachings and the doctrines of the Bible against homosexuality, that's not what men are. Men are not gay. Men like women. Very just drilled into my brain so deeply that I was openly, and I hate even saying this out loud because I had arguments with people in high school, like up until, I want to say senior year, I started to let go a little bit and started thinking a little more freely for myself and partying and being around people. But until then, I was an open homophobe and I would debate people at lunch about how bad being gay was. And people would be furious with me.
Really?
Furious with me, man.
Wow.
And I'd be like, you're just wrong. You're just so wrong. And I would feel so good about having that opinion because I was taught the right way and they were taught the wrong way. And I'm sorry that you're confused. And I don't think I had that debate with homosexuals, but it would be with like girls.
Sure.
That would be, they'd have a gay friend or something. And I was so afraid of gay people for such a long time of my life that I would like, if there was a gay person around, I'd leave. I'd not hang around because it would make me so uncomfortable. And everyone would be like, you're a homophobe because you're gay. And I was so pretty and dressed so nice in Metro. So did you. That all throughout public school, I was called the F word all the time. You don't know it yet, but you're gay. You don't know it yet, you're gay. So much to the point that I was afraid I might be actually homosexual, even though I didn't have any feelings of it. But it was so...
You mean like at the time you had fears?
So much fear of gay and homosexuality that I got to a point in my later 20s where I was enraged that I was raised that way, because I have been given more love from the gay community in my life for anything I'm suffering through that has nothing to do with them or homosexuality. I've been shown so much more love by that community than most people of other communities. It is like the most loving community, and I'm just so ashamed that I ever thought differently.
Yeah.
And I ever believed the lies of this book that were forced upon me. And I'm really happy I don't believe that anymore, because there's so many LGBTQ plus people in my life now that are monumental to who I am as a person and have showed me so much love and have defined love for me beyond gender.
Right.
Beyond gender. Love for me is only, at least the way we were raised, was defined between a man and a woman. And like you said, these masculine roles, being taught them that way, that being proven wrong multiple times by watching other people's experiences on what love truly is between just humans, is just like, man, we had it backwards growing up.
Love to all things.
Love to all things, man. There's love everywhere.
How about, let me ask you a question. What about now?
What do you mean?
Because you've grown a lot, but like, just personally, like you just said a lot, and then you powerfully admitted, like how you were in high school, like those kind of like, I never was that way. I never like...
Neither was Natalie, man. It was very much me.
But I mean, like, that's like, we would call that like I think that like, do you see, I mean, here's my question I wanted to ask is like, Zachary Blaustone, sophomore, freshman year of high school, or whatever, like defending the Bible in regards to everything, but also mostly the homosexuality. You're being called gay. Like, I know what this is like.
Yeah.
I never was the one that said anything about those types of things, that it was wrong. But I definitely made sure people knew I was a Bible believer and preached the verses. I was like a pastor, But so from Zachary being afraid to be gay, and telling people it's wrong to be gay in high school, and zooming all the way to you are now. What are you now?
Oh, dude, I am just all love. If you are,
but I mean, like sexually, how do you identify?
Oh, I identify as straight.
Yeah.
I'm not that attracted to males.
Have you ever had like sexual experiences with a man?
Yeah, of course.
Did you like it
as a child, as an experiencing child?
Just like
I
as a kid.
I had a lot of kid. You and your best friend take your pants down and touch each other's penises. Why not? You're 12 years old. Who cares?
Why not?
But I've never had like an adult sexual experience with a man. Many drunken nights, like you even said. When the barriers are broken, there was always like, I'm not gay, but I'll kiss you. That like so stupid when you look back on it. But it's like, yeah, those experiences, I just have never really been into men. And I've honestly, like, watching my other friends kind of be more open to bisexuality and other things. I'm just not, I just don't feel it. It's like, I'm just really,
I think this is what it's about, literally working for all of us, for everybody, but for you, it's like in me, it's about learning our true identities.
Exactly.
It's not a personality trait.
No.
This is an identity.
Exactly.
Personalities are fake. We literally put it on when we leave the house.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I hear you. I think that's just, I'm curious. Like, how do you truly, like, from being that in high school to like where you developed in your life?
But I haven't been confident in that until like the last few years.
Really?
Where I'm like, oh no, I identify as straight, but not because I want to be. I love the gay community. I kind of wish I could be more gay.
Yeah.
But I'm just not. And I actually really accept that. And I like that part of me. But there's something about that comes up in my mind sometimes about how I did think about homosexuality for a huge chunk of my life.
Yeah.
And that was made my 20s incredibly confusing because of how I felt towards them.
Yeah.
And it's not even like for myself. It wasn't things I was battling with myself. It was, I'm afraid of them. What are they going to do to me? Are they going to try to take advantage of me? Do they think I'm gay?
Which like they and them is just such a derogatory term to even speak of a group, right? It's
exactly. 100%. And
you're talking about like your childhood.
Yeah. And I brought this up on, I want to say 2 casts ago, that I brought this is one of the few traumas I've actually brought up to our father when he was asking. And I am proud of myself for even pulling it out when we were just having a talk about religious trauma. And he's just like, I don't get it. I don't get how this could ever be traumatic. And it just instantly clicked to me. I'm like, you raised me homophobic because the Bible's homophobic. Therefore, I was homophobic, dude, afraid of homosexuals. And I'm not anymore. It's like, that's trauma.
Right.
And he agreed.
Yeah, I know. And so like now I've decided that whenever, one of the things I want to like also do on the cast is make sure that like, do you blame dad then?
No.
Not anymore?
No, I mean, I'm also never a blamer of our parents. The more we are unraveling our trauma, it's getting tougher to not feel a little blamey. But in reality, I really do think our parents fell victim to a cult.
So I think like not blaming, it's more of like, I think it's like important to always recognize when you feel like a victim. Because like, you know, you're not, right? You're not a victim, but like, it's easy just, I don't know, whenever like, because I think parental trauma versus religious trauma, it's just like that goes hand in hand.
But there's no one in the Calvary Chapel Church, at least, I mean, from what we know, our father's church, right? When we were really raised in, which makes it that much more confusing because it is parental at that point.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
our dad's church.
Yeah.
There was no gay people there. And there was also no families raising gay sons or gay daughters. And if there were, it was get your son in order. You make sure they don't end gay.
Yeah.
You make sure your daughter doesn't end gay or whatever they want to identify in is because our book says otherwise. And that, my friends, is incredibly oppressive and wrong in every way.
It's true.
And it even hurts my heart to think about it. But I think it's because it really affected me and it affected how I treated other people, young, really vulnerable adults, the ones that you took out of classrooms that tried to kill themselves in high school. It's like I believed they were wrong for being who they were. And I believe that because of what I was taught as a child from this book. I think that really defines that trauma.
And, you know, if there's all the things that we've said about toxic masculinity in the Christian church tonight, that's a big one to end on. And I think that's very powerful. And I think that one speaks for itself in this community and seeing how there has been amazing progress. I think the goal of all of this, talking about toxic masculinity, and I think in general, the whole point of this podcast is to recognize and address these issues for a healthier, more inclusive, and spiritually fulfilling community. Mm-hmm. I know that we speak on the Christian church a lot, but I think ultimately outside of all religions, that's what we want, right?
100%.
More inclusive, healthier, and spiritually fulfilling community. And everything we just talked about is not that.
Not that at all.
Good talk.
Yeah.
Do you feel less toxic and masculine now? It's funny that you wore your number one most toxic masculine like get up. It's like the white wife beater and or AT, whatever they call it.
I thought that'd be funny.
Maybe wife beater
chose it.
Well, this is exciting to get on over to the next segment here. We got a little surprise.
We do have a surprise.
Because we are so excited to announce that we are going to go on over to the Game Cam.
But this Game Cam is going to be quite different, lovely ladies and gentlemen.
We have hooked up the Nintendo Switch and we signed up for the online Nintendo subscription to where we have access to every single old Nintendo gaming system online. So on the screen there, you can see Nintendo 64, Mario Kart 64, 1996. This is the game that we played growing up every time.
Goodness, dude, it's a square video.
Do you want to do a race or you want to do a battle?
I want to do battle.
So you want to do battle, and we're going to do one match, right? Because it's 3. It's good.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We should do then, yeah. This is Mario Kart. We're going to do a battle. Go for it.
A balloon battle.
Let's go.
That's Mario GP. You need to go down to
Battle. Ooh, yeah. See, this is fun, huh? Now we don't have to like go over to the corner, be all crammed up. All right. We're never going back to board games. No, it's over.
This is over.
You got Yoshi? Why have to be Toad?
Well, I already knew you were going to go for Yoshi.
Oh, wait, no, we're in battle, right? DK.
You're going to be DK, the easiest person to shoot? Okay.
That's fine.
All right. Oh my gosh, dude. I'm having so many.
Here it comes, ladies and gentlemen. Mario Kart. This is battle. Okay, let's figure out the controls, okay? So right bumper, and so right bumper's jump. Oh, that's right. Okay, so A's go. Okay, we're good. I think we're good, man.
How do I use it?
Come to me, my princess.
You're so. You think you have.
Where are you going? Why are you gonna go up to the second floor, huh, Biva?
You're gonna go. Your big red thing's gonna save you. I think your big red thing's gonna save you, dude.
I do.
Remember, if you fall off the edge.
Damn it.
Oh, Scheiße.
Oh! How did I miss? Oh, he's got a star.
Oh, dude.
Get out of here.
No! Oh, such an old school game. Oh, thank God. If you don't shoot it perfectly, no!
Yes. That's 1. And this is going to be Mario Kart 1.0, so this is exciting.
Not that exciting. Okay.
Do you think we'll get more viewers just by it being in the title?
I don't know.
Oh, I missed you because you're a ghost. Come to me. Fire. Okay, I just shot myself.
Yep.
Well, sometimes the button, I'm learning that the buttons get stuck. We're playing on the small Nintendo Switch controllers. And so if anyone plays Nintendo Switch, you know that it's not the easiest.
It's not what you're used to.
But it's fun because it makes it not as fun. It's okay. We do have the other controller, like
the one.
You can put them in, but they're not charged. So we have to do old school. Oh, baby, where you at? Okay, we got a banana. I'm on the top floor. Oh.
Every time you fall off like that, I'm always afraid it's going to hit. Take one of your balloons. It happens. Oh my goodness. Coming for you, baby. Coming for you. Yeah? Stole my red shell. Gracious.
Right now, it's a tied match. 2 balloons to DK, 2 balloons to Yoshi.
Oh no! Did that take a balloon? No!
Get over here.
No! Oh, yes!
No!
Dude. You just lost a balloon too. We gotta play one more.
No, dude, it's over.
I know. We gotta play one more though.
Oh my god!
Let's do best out of 3. Fuck it.
No, dude,
this is too much fun.
But it's so much that it's gonna be on the Gamecast forever. It's gonna be on the cast forever. Let's call it. It's one game. I know. See, that's how you know you're having fun. Is when you want to keep playing. But on the Gamecast, we do one game.
Fine. Good job. Dude, this is gonna make me so salty because video games are my shit.
I know, but this is old school, and remember who always won back in the day?
Oh,
when all the trauma was forming. Actually,
I won all the time.
You won a lot, but I also won a lot.
In this game, you always beat me.
That's the older brother syndrome, right? It's like if you're the oldest, you're gonna have like 2 years advance.
One of these days, we'll run a Fortnite game, and we'll see how that goes.
Let's be honest. You lost because of a rogue green shell.
I did.
That's always a bummer way to lose.
That's always a bummer way to lose, but it happens. And you know what? I haven't won for about 7 casts.
No, it makes me so happy. That's something that's not usual in our situation. I'm normally you're kicking my butt in most like games stuff.
Yeah. Especially in this cast, I was winning every game for a really long time.
I mean, if we played, I was pretty nervous on the cast, man. Yeah. I was getting so nervous in these games. It was like, don't lose, you lost. Don't lose, you lost.
Now I'm like, don't lose, you lost. Don't lose, you lost. So it's just reverse psychology right now.
Anything else, buddy?
Oh, that's good. Great cast.
All right. Well, maybe we'll just call it there.
Yeah, why not?
You have some new music you're working on.
Oh yeah, no, I did release a song. If you haven't listened to it yet, it is called Real One.
You also gave me a sneak peek of your newest one.
I did come up with the next new song, which I'm very excited about.
It's phenomenal. I'm so excited to talk about it more.
Yeah, me too.
All right, well, if you're still listening, thank you. And if you're still watching, I don't even believe in God, but God bless.
Like that. That's how you should end one. You know what? If you're still watching, I don't believe in God, but God bless.
Yeah, I don't even believe in God, but God bless. Over and out. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Until next week.
Till next week.